you believe in ghosts? If so, then this story is for you because today we are taking a look at the video that proves a small village doesn't want you trespassing after dark. The following story comes from October 2022. The story takes us to the remote English countryside where there is a small village called Black Hollow. The village is located near other small villages such as Great Eaton, Little Ayton and Kilton, all in the Redcar and Cleveland borough of North Yorkshire. This village was originally known as Blackhall, which means Black Valley, and it lived up to its name because it was literally a black valley. But over the years, it has gone through many changes. In 1978, an expansion of the nearby steelworks meant that most people had to abandon their homes and move out. Since then, it has remained empty. Locals still warn outsiders to stay away from the area, especially after dark, because it is cursed. People have seen shadows moving around and even heard voices, even though there is nobody living there. So obviously, a lot of ghost stories have started to spread throughout the town and beyond. And now people still warn others to stay away. Because if you don't, who knows what will happen to you? Some think that the spirits of the original residents are still haunting the town, and they don't want any trespassers. But in October 2022, 3 urban explorers thought they could find the truth once and for all. These explorers were named Daniel, Nia, and Alex. Daniel was the one with the camera, and he documented everything. He believed that these ghost stories were just folklore, and there was no way that a small village could be haunted. Before we get into what happened to them, let me tell you a bit more about this village. This village used to have a population of about 350 people. But in 1978, it was announced that the local steelworks would be expanding. And to do this, they needed to make more land. They didn't really care how they got it either. Basically, they told everyone in the village to pack their things and leave because they were gonna knock down their houses. Most people didn't want to leave their homes, but they had no choice. So they did. Many of them left in tears because they knew that they would never see their friends or family again. This caused the village to become abandoned, and many people died while they were leaving. It is unknown why exactly they died. Was it because they were heartbroken? Or maybe they were stressed from having to move so quickly. Either way, this caused many people to pass away. And since then, more people have passed away while visiting the village. There have been reports of cars breaking down, people suffering heart attacks, and much more. So clearly, this place is dangerous, and anyone who goes there should watch their back. Let's get back to the story. Daniel, Nia, and Alex were driving around one day when they stumbled across this village. It was almost dark by the time they got there, but they didn't care. They parked up and started walking around. They went house to house, and it was like a ghost town. There were children's toys scattered around, and furniture was left outside. They walked around for hours until finally the sun set. Moments after it went down, the temperature dropped significantly. It was now freezing cold. They continued exploring, but they could feel something strange around them. But they ignored it and pressed on. After a little while, they could hear the sound of a church bell. It was very loud and kept ringing over and over. Daniel stopped to listen, but there wasn't a single church anywhere. It was just houses, dirt roads, and trees. Still, the sound kept ringing, so he carried on. Just then, they saw a shadow standing in front of them. It was very tall and thin, with a head that was tilted at an unnatural angle. It was watching them, but they couldn't see its face. Daniel shone his flashlight at it, and it seemed to phase right through. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, but then it started walking towards them. It kept getting closer and closer until it was right in front of them. It took another step forward, but this time it vanished. They didn't know what to do. so they turned and ran in the opposite direction. As they did, they could hear footsteps behind them. They were getting closer and closer. It sounded like someone was running after them. Mia screamed as she felt something grab her wrist. She pulled away, and it left a mark on her arm. It was red and looked like fingers had been gripping her skin. She and the others didn't stop running until they reached a building. It looked like an old schoolhouse. There were desks and chairs inside, and it was dusty. They looked around and saw a blackboard that said "Good morning, class." Then they noticed something else. Scratched into the desk was the message, "We never left." That's when they realized that they weren't alone. In the corner of the room, dark shapes started to emerge. Dozens of them came out, all different sizes. They were all faceless and hunched over, moving like puppets. Mia screamed again and backed away. More and more of them came out, and they were all staring at her. They started moving closer and closer, and then they started speaking. It was a chorus of voices, and they all seemed to come from inside her head. They whispered things about leaving and playing. It was scary, and she wished she'd never come to this place. Daniel grabbed her and pulled her backwards. They had to get out of there. They ran for the door, but as Alex opened it, it slammed shut. They tried again, but it wouldn't open. The whispers grew louder, and the figures started coming closer. Now they were right in front of the door. Then they started pushing it open. The explorers panicked and tried to find another way out, but there wasn't one. They were trapped. They all huddled together as the door slowly opened. The first figure stepped inside. It was thin and hunched over, and it seemed to drag itself along the floor. It turned to them, and they could see its face. It was pale and had no eyes or nose. It was just a mouth. It lunged at them, but before it could attack, it disappeared. More figures came in, and they were all like that. The explorers screamed as the figures advanced on them. But there was nothing they could do. They were trapped. Then, as if out of nowhere, one of the figures grabbed Mia and pulled her towards the door. She screamed for help, but no one came. The others tried to stop it, but it dragged her out and into the darkness. She was gone forever. Alex and Daniel stared at the door. What had happened to her? Would they be next? One of the figures approached them, and it seemed to beckon for them to follow. They didn't want to, but they had no choice. They were trapped in this place with these creatures, and they didn't know what would happen next. The next morning, police found the explorer's car, but there was no sign of the trio. It seems like they vanished into thin air. Then they found some blood near the door. It was still fresh, so whoever did this hadn't been far. Police are still investigating this case, but no one knows what happened to them. Some say they were taken by the spirits of the village. Others say they were attacked by a crazed killer. But we may never know the truth. So what do you think happened to these explorers? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to hear another scary story, then check out the video on screen. But until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye.